Difficult. Women.
Welcome back.
Hello.
Hi.
Oh my gosh, you guys. Did you miss us? Not really.
Did you forget about the sounds of our sweet voices?
Yeah, no.
Are they sweet? I don't know. I think mine sometimes cuts glass. I don't know.
Yeah, mine's kind of screechy, but I own that. I like it.
Whose voice is that though?
It's the voice of Catherine Adele Frame.
Oh my goodness.
And you? Whose voice is delighting my eardrums?
This grandpa laugh belongs to Marie Cecile Anderson.
It's a very sexy laugh.
Oh God, I'm trying. Remember, like a couple years ago, I was like, I'm gonna try on a new laugh, and I was like,
that was when you chose.
Yeah. I thought
interesting.
Yeah, I thought it'd really get the boys.
Yep, and it seemed to be working.
Look at me now. Yeah.
And if you didn't know by now, we'll just let you know that you're listening to the Difficult Women podcast.
Surprise!
Huzzah!
And we're back after a much needed break of revamping, and all has been vamped, and
it's been super
revamped.
We're vampy.
Okay, so I know this is our first episode back in a while, and can I just tell you, my blood is boiling right now. My blood is boiling.
Get into the air conditioned room.
That's my advice. I have ice cubes in my pants right now because
up your butt. Stick an ice cube up your butt whenever you're.
Because I just got fucking trolled on Hinge. Can I tell you?
How? Tell me about this.
I'm so mad. I'm so mad. Okay, hold on. Let me see. Okay, so this guy. So on Hinge, I'm back on Hinge. I'm gonna get back off it because of this. So one of the things I've updated on my Hinge profile is the way to win me over is to believe in science and the vaccine. So I've been getting trolled, but like little trolls, like someone called me a stupid idiot, and I was like, okay, fuck you. But this one guy...
It's a good way to weed people out.
Oh, well, you know why I'm weeding them out. Our listeners don't know. I accidentally went on a date with an anti-vaxxer, but that's a whole other story. Mm-hmm. And that also made... That's why I've just... My anxiety and depression, everything's just been up a lot because what's happening? But so this one guy... He just wrote me back, if the vaccine was so great, then why do vaccinated people have to wear masks? So I wrote back, so in order to like write somebody back, you have to match with them. So I was like, okay, I'll match with this dumb fuck. And then I said, we have to wear masks again because dumb fucks like you won't get vaccinated. So I had to match with him, send him that message, and then quickly unmatch with him. So I don't know if because I unmatched so quickly, he won't get my message of him calling him dumb fuck. But anyway, I'm so over it.
Yeah.
Over it.
It's incredible how like that stuff is like so quickly permeated. Even what's like a relatively, I mean, maybe safe isn't the right word, but like a more or less apolitical space, like a dating app. You know what I mean? Because usually you're like, oh, they're conservative. I just won't even match.
Yeah.
But now people are actually actively sending you messages to shit on you. It's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, of course, I went to his page and like, you know, he's a Christian, conservative. His job is laborer, which is great. Like, wonderful. Fine. That's who you are. But it all kind of just, you know, synced up. It all synced up.
I mean, what's sad about that is that like, he's gonna kill his grandmother. So anyway, that's. I was gonna say it's not your problem, but it is. It's all of our problems.
It's all of our problems.
That's the worst part.
But now but really you have to vet these people because what happened to me is this really cute boy message like, "Hey, let's just pull the plug and like meet." Like immediately, and I was like, okay, I like this assertiveness. Okay, let's get in there. So I went and sat down with him at a coffee place. He ordered lavender tea, and then I said, oh, you got Lady Grey, and he was like, what? And I was like, Lady Grey, like Earl Grey, but it's Lady Grey. It's Earl Grey with lavender. And he was like, what's Earl Grey? And I was like, okay, first off, you don't know fucking tea, which, I mean, I can date a guy that doesn't know tea. That's fine. But then he told me like Joe Rogan's podcast. And then I said, I have a lot of problems with Joe Rogan. And then he said, one of which was all the things that he had said about not getting vaccinated. And then as I'm taking a sip of my crisp white wine that has just arrived, he says, well, I'm not vaccinated.
I was like, I gotta go.
Yeah.
I spit my wine out on him and then I ran.
Spit my wine out, yeah. No, I stayed there for an hour debating him on all types of things and then just lost my brain. Anyway, how are you?
I'm fine. I just stay inside. I don't know. We don't have that problem in New York as much. I'm sure there are unvaccinated people. I know there's unvaccinated people in New York, but on the apps, don't you? I mean, you must have this too, right? Where people can say that they're vaccinated.
Yeah, it says. I mean, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's my thing. Is like if it doesn't say vaccinated, I don't even bother.
Yep. Whoopsie doops. And his political views were other. I think if it says anything besides liberal,
other is like a tinfoil hat.
Yeah,
that's what I assume. It's like,
and honestly, it's kind of sad because I've dated Republicans before, but like right now, it just means a little differently.
It's just not the same. Yeah, it's just
different.
We're not talking about. I mean, Republican, Democrat. None of this means anything anymore. It's not what it's about anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
anyway,
so yeah, I haven't been out with any anti-vaxxers, but I'd have to really look for one if I wanted to find one. I mean, I'd really have to work at it.
Yeah, look under the rocks and
be a little tough for me. But
yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah. Well,
I'm sorry
come on
that
down
happened.
to Tennessee.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry that happened.
It's fine.
Anyway, speaking of these horrifying dates, that kind of ties into what we were going to talk about today.
What are we going to talk about?
Well, I just wanted to preface this by saying men are wonderful. There's so many wonderful men out in the world. Mm-hmm. Really honorable. Mm-hmm. In fact, Marie had just told me about this woman who was showing off an alligator to some kids at a birthday party or something. And the alligator pulled her in and was like trying to eat her. And this incredible stepdad jumped to the rescue. Like no one was doing anything about it. And he jumped into the alligator tank. And she was super chill, the woman who was being attacked, because she knows animals, I guess. So she like stayed calm. He said that her calmness helped me kind of stay focused. And they got the alligator off of her arm. But then he's like riding an alligator, which is like incredible. And just at the right timing, he jumped off and was safe from an alligator bite. And I had read that he had just gotten married. And his wife was there, and he was there with his stepson and his new wife. And I was just like, man, I would be wet forever if I got to see my new husband wrestle an alligator.
Oh my God.
So I mean, that man deserves a difficult woman badge of honor.
Oh.
And I really appreciate his I don't know if I should call it a manly effort, but just a really wonderful human effort. Mm-hmm. And those men are great. That's not what we're talking about today, though. Today we're talking about fuckboys.
Fuckboys.
Yeah. Hashtag not all men, but still fuckboys exist, and they are roaming the streets.
Oh my gosh, they are everywhere, and I love to date them.
Oh yes. Unfortunately, yes.
Unfortunately. Well, what kind of started this conversation was Nikki Glazer's show on HBO, F-Boy Island.
I wish they would just call it Fuckboy Island, by the way. I hate that.
I know. I hate when she says like F-boy.
I wish she could just say fuckboy.
You know she wants to say fuckboys.
Of course.
But so that show, if you haven't seen it, I haven't seen the whole thing. Katie got me onto it. Usually I'm like Bridgerton and Sex Life, and she's like, all these reality shows.
Horrible reality shows. But I'll tell you, Nikki Glazer is a dreamboat on this show. She's such a good host.
So funny.
She's so funny. That show is like framed in such a fun way, kind of digging on these fuckboys. Mm-hmm. And I just think it's fascinating.
And they are very attractive. Everyone's so attractive.
Everyone's so hot.
My thing about these reality shows and The Bachelor and Bachelorette and all that sort of stuff is like these people, they're too pretty. They're just too attractive. All of them across the board. Like, can we just have some average looking people on there?
I don't know if I'd want to watch that.
Oh, man.
Part of the appeal is you get to see all these like shirtless hot guys and this like beautiful women, and I don't know. I get it. Like it actually would be a great show to just be like, here's normal people dating. Like that would also be totally fun in a different way. And certainly I think that like, not that all hot muscular men are fuckboys, but that like many fuckboys are hot muscular men. You know what I'm saying? Like that's like the diagram. So
what's a fuckboy? Let's get into it.
Into it.
This topic I relate to very much. Let's get into the definition of it for people that have been able to dodge this bullet of dating a fuckboy.
Sure, or even knowing a fuckboy, or maybe you yourself are a fuckboy and you're listening. Now we can self-diagnose.
They'll hear this definition and be like, "Holy shit, that's me."
So here's one definition in Urban Dictionary. It's a guy who will tell a girl anything to get them to hook up with them. A complete jerk who flirts with multiple girls at a time, or dates multiple girls at a time, and makes them all believe they're individually special. They tell a girl they like them and act like they're in love so that they can get sex out of it, or pictures or things like that. Someone who should not be trusted. Don't fuck with a fuckboy, it says.
Don't fuck with a fuckboy. I think that's the name of this episode.
Yep, that sounds good. I also think it should be noted that this was interesting to me. So this is where we cue the classical music.
I'll put it in.
The history of the term fuckboy originated in like black culture and was first sort of heard widely in the song Boy Boy by Cameron. And that definition was more about a guy who was like a fake dude who's like super lame. Someone, I forgot who it was that said this, but they were trying to describe what that kind of a fuckboy was. And it was like, he's like the guy when you're in, you get pulled over by the cops and the cops ask you, do you have any weed? And the guy's like, yeah. Like, that was their definition of fuckboy. But like most things on the planet, it was culturally appropriated by white people to then mean more what it means now, as like a dude that, you know, like he thinks he's super cool and can just manipulate women, and does manipulate women.
Now here's my big question about fuckboys. Do you think that they act like this and are disrespectful and manipulative and narcissistic because they're of their ego, like they have a huge ego and they're super confident, or because they have major problems and that are insecure and definitely should be in therapy?
Oh, definitely the second one. Definitely not. Okay. I think it's very rare that it's actually because they like believe in themselves fully, because I think people that actually like have confidence and actually like, you know, believe in themselves actually treat humans well and respectfully. And people that are disrespectful to other people tend to be people who have a lot of mental problems and or just like insecurities and things.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of fuckboys come from maybe they one time dated somebody and then their heart got broken and then they were like, never again. But that's also like that's part of life. Like all of us, you know, sometimes people don't like you and that's okay. That's another part of the definition that I read on another definition that I read of fuckboy was like someone who is very like fragile. Someone who like can't who like acts out like this because of their own like male fragility. So if you, here's another good thing to watch out for. You out there in the world may be currently dating a fuckboy. And there are a couple of things that you can like look out for in case you're wondering. And one of them is something like where the guy will be like, hey, you free like right now, right? And then expect you to kind of drop everything and run over there and be with them. But God forbid you say like, hey, I'm not free tonight. And then they freak out on you and they're like, well, fuck that. Like, I don't want to see you anyway. And like that kind of thing. That is like very stereotypical fuckboy behavior where it's like everything has to be on their terms and they get really hurt if you reject them in any kind of way, which to me signals a massive insecurity.
Right. Oh. Well,
That's
I've also
one of the qualities.
Right. Yeah. I mean, so here's something that I feel like I'm just going to come out and say, and if the guy is listening, I'm sorry, I'm not going to say your name, but I definitely just got out of a fuckboy relationship. Great person. I don't know what's going on in his brain because I didn't get that far, but I definitely through the whole relationship, which was only a couple months, through the whole relationship, I was confused.
Right.
And I think that is something that I always have to remind myself, because this has happened through dating through the years, is that when it's a fuck yes, there's no question.
Right.
You're not confused. You're not like, oh, do they like me? Like, there's the really like vague texting and stuff, like, just doesn't happen. It's like they want to be with you. They want to see you. They will take you whenever you're free, and they don't make you feel bad about your availability or whatever. And with this person that I just dated a couple months ago, it was always so vague, and it was also so limited, and everything had a time constraint, and I felt kind of crazy and honestly like gaslit the whole time, because all of my feelings weren't validated. Like, it was just like there was always an excuse for something. And I'm not saying he's a bad person at all. I just think that we weren't a good match. And I think that, like, maybe in some ways, and maybe this is true with fuckboys, is that, like, they got hurt in a past relationship, and now they're trying to maneuver their emotions with other partners, but they're so scared and so insecure, and so, like, they put walls up from the very beginning. Because with this particular person, we had this big talk of, like, so how are you this old and not married in the South? Like, what's wrong with you, kind of thing.
Right.
And my thing is, I immediately said, like, I don't necessarily believe in monogamy, and, like, maneuvering through that, it's a not so traditional way of thinking about relationships. However, I do believe that if you find a person, you make a commitment to them and are honest and truthful and all that sort of stuff, monogamy can work in many ways. And then he immediately was like, well, I'm bad at commitment. And I'm like, okay, well then. And honestly, like, so to the women listening, or to the men, like, if somebody says that to you, and this is what I wish I would have done, but really been like, so why are you here? Why did you sign on to the online dating app? Why did you pursue me? Why am I sitting here having a cocktail with you if you're actively looking at me in the eye, telling me you're bad at relationships, telling me you're bad at intimacy? So then so the joke's on me then for sticking around?
I mean, kind of. I mean, no offense. But
Yeah.
I mean, like,
Yeah.
I think and I think that also hits on something too, where it's like, there's like levels of fuckboyery, right? So there's the kind of fuckboy situation, which is like one of the worst, where someone is fully lying to you, like fully flat out saying, like, I love you, I only think about you, but then still is hard to, like, is fully manipulating you. It's hard to pin them down, and yet they're saying one thing and doing another.
Right.
Some of these people tend to have multiple relationships, but they pretend like you're the only one. Like, that is like peak fuckboyery. And then there's these other sort of like levels, and this is where it becomes a little more. I'm not saying that that's not fuckboy behavior, because it is, because I think there was a sort of leading on that was happening in your situation. But there's also one thing I do appreciate about what happened in that exchange is that he just said, "I'm not good at commitment."
Yeah. Yeah,
that's the
true.
part, because that's the thing. It's like, we're all broken, we're all trying to figure shit out, but, like, just be honest.
Right.
And, like, that's, to me, like, the worst of the fuckboys. It's like, because I've been on plenty of dates too. I was thinking about this date I went on a couple years ago where the guy, I mean, he was saying stuff like, I want you to meet my grandmother. She would love you. You're going to meet it was like our first date. And I was like, I don't believe this guy at all. And we did end up hooking up, but I was like, this isn't, I'm hooking up with him because I want to hook up with him, not because he's convincing me of anything. But this is a person that, like, he was very hot. And, like, he clearly, that was his manipulation tactic with women. He clearly would go into these things and he'd love bomb them and be like, I can't stop thinking about your body's amazing. Everything about you is perfect. I want you to meet my grandmother. Like, whatever this shit is. And so, like, part of navigating, like, the world with fuckboys in it is that, like, it's so hard to know whether you can trust someone or not. But every so often you'll be lucky, like I was, where he goes so far that I'm like, I don't believe you. And then I was right. I mean, he's totally a fuckboy.
The best thing that happened to me was remember when I was fucking this one guy, or no, we only slept together once, I think, just had one night stand. And then a couple days later, my other friend was like, oh yeah, I was sleeping with that guy too.
Oh,
and I was
God,
like,
yeah.
oh my God. So we realized that we had slept with the same person. And he was still texting us both, wanting us both to like fuck him. And then somehow my friend and I got to the place of like, we were sharing what this man was saying to us while we were in the throes of passion. The exact same lines.
Yeah, that's
word for word. For word.
That's a real fuckboy.
But thank God we were friends.
Yeah.
So we could be like, I mean, we knew he was a fuckboy even before.
Yeah, even before. But it just really clarified, hit home.
Yeah. But it's like these guys have the same lines that they're working over and over and over again.
Again, if you're wondering out there, am I a fuckboy? Part of it is it's like that kind of behavior, it's not sincere to say the same thing every time you're in bed with another woman. That is a tactic. That is a manipulation tactic that you are consciously using to manipulate the person you're with. And you're manipulating them. And this is also why I think this is about insecurity, because like you're manipulating them to fulfill whatever you want, because you know you can't get them by being honest. You can only get them by lying, or that's how you feel. The truth is, if you were honest and you really were respectful, you might still be able to be with some people, but you're not with everybody that you want. And that's an insecurity, trying to prove something to yourself about how great you are, or whatever it is. And I think that is traditional old school fuckboyery.
But why then is it that when men are very clear about like, okay, this is a fuckboy, sometimes I've had the track record of I see you and I raise you, because in some ways, and I'm getting way better at this, but I think I can fix this person.
Yeah.
I'm the one. I know you've done the, I'm hearing you. You've said this. You're bad at commitment. You're bad at relationship, all this sort of stuff. But wait till I get in there. You'll want to commit to me. And then that becomes a really big fucked up problem too.
Yeah. And then I wonder though too, because I do that. I've definitely done that. We know that I've done that too. For me at this point, what I've realized with that scenario, it's like, first of all, believe people when they tell you who they are.
Yes.
You have to believe it. And in that case, I almost feel like that's not their fault. That's our fault. Because they've said what they're doing. They didn't. They just said it.
Right.
But we're choosing to not hear it. We're choosing to try to fix something that doesn't want to be fixed. And in their mind may or may not even be broken. So it's like, I think that is almost a different situation. You know what I mean? Where like, that's like us putting ourselves in harm's way because they've already told us. And I think that some of that comes from like, and we talked about this a couple of days ago, just you and I, but like, and maybe this is an episode in itself, but like the other day I was like thinking about romantic comedies and how women grow up with romantic comedies and princess stories that push this like false narrative of romantic love that's not accurate particularly. But then men are exposed as boys to like the opposite of that, where like men are kind of like made fun of for being sensitive and good at communication. So it's like we're raising in this Western world, we're raising our children to like want opposite things. And so how is any relationship ever going to work if we're not on the same page from the get-go of like what makes a good relationship? What makes respect? Because it's not respectful to come in and try to change somebody either. Right. That's not respecting who that person is.
Right. You're supposed to come
they want.
As you are and be loved.
And if someone says,
and love.
Yeah. And if someone says, I'm not looking for a relationship, it's disrespectful of me then to come in and be like, yes, you do. You know what I mean? I don't care what you want. I'm going to tell you what you want. Like certainly women and men do that, especially women, I think, to do that to men all the time, or to partners do it to each other. And that's also a form of like, and that maybe also is like, because I was thinking like, are there fuck women? And I think it's just a different, no, because like, sure, women can go in and like have sex with you and then leave the next day. But as long as they're not lying, like, no, I don't know many women that trap men by telling them they love them and then leave after one night of sex. If anything, women will be like, I want a bone. And the man's like, great.
Right.
And then if they don't call, they don't call. But that's different than lying, you know?
But also some of the behavior of like manipulation is such, I think what you're saying, it's like, it is very masculine because like a woman in an early relationship, if I start talking about, oh, I want to take you to St. Bart's, or hey, let's coordinate our Halloween costumes, you know, and it's just July, which I've heard from men early on of like vacation talk or holidays, what we're going to do for holidays, or, you know, coordinating Halloween costumes, which I'm like, what?
The guy I lost my virginity to used to like to tell me he was going to bring me on a sailboat.
Yeah, I mean, my pants would be off. Like if anybody talks about a boat at any point in a conversation, I'm like, that's what gets me more wet than anything. But here's the thing: the double standard of that is that when women talk about that type of stuff or planning for the future and stuff, men are like, she's crazy. But then when men do that to us.
But what women do is we manipulate in different ways.
How do we manipulate?
Well, it's in that way to like, what are the tactics that you use when a man comes into your orbit that you're like, I'm going to fix you?
Right. Okay. Yes. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, what are the things where you try to pretend to be cool about it or whatever it is, to sneak in there, whatever those tactics are. So I think that to me, I'm deciding in this moment, and we could always reassess this later, but I think the female version of a fuck boy is like a commitment woman or something. Something like an overcommitment gal. I don't know.
That, yeah.
Because it's, and it's like our society is like pushing us to these extremes, I think, to some degree.
But how do you spot a fuckboy?
Well, this is what's so great about F-Boy Island. I'm just going to call it Fuckboy Island. That's what it's really Island. Called. Because like the first part of the show, you don't know who's a fuckboy and who's a nice guy. Mm-hmm. And it's not easy to tell. It's not easy to tell. And these girls are falling for these fuckboys, like easy peasy. And that's why this show is fascinating to like keep watching. And I'm not going to do any spoilers, but you do ultimately find out who's a fuckboy and who's not. But some of them are a surprise for sure. And some of the choices that the ladies make as the show goes through, it's like some of them know that the guy's a fuckboy, or they really suspect it and they're quite sure, and they're still choosing them. And I think that's, to me, what's like so and I think we've definitely done that too, right? Where like you're like, I know this guy's bad for me, but I keep choosing him anyway. Oh, and like, what is that?
That's why I'm
about?
in therapy.
Yeah, and that's as you should be. And
right.
and that's there's like, what is the solution if you're a fuckboy and you want to, you know, reform? What do you need to do? Go to therapy. That's
get help.
Like that, yeah, because like what's going on here? It's funny and whatever, but it's coming from a pretty dark place at the end of the day. A lot of this behavior and that kind of just disrespect for other people is a very deep-seated issue in a person. And that person that was sleeping with you and your friend, like that person's like
fucked up,
really fucked up, a really fucked up, deeply fucked up person.
We also found out he had a girlfriend too,
right?
At the time. Yeah.
And that person is like,
broken.
Unless he really gets help, and maybe he is getting help and that's wonderful, but like he's not going to be able to have a real connection with somebody in a real way if he keeps, because he's just going to keep fucking up because there's something going on inside of him that's making him want to do this.
It's a lot of like they're hurting inside, so they want to hurt other people.
I think that's definitely part of it for some of these guys.
And it reminds me of our episode of She's Not Your Rehab. It's like a man that has a lot of problems and then wants to then just like pull their partner down with them. And I think like a lot of the fuckboys that I've been with in the past, like, yeah, the sex is amazing, you know, sure. Right. And that also can,
and that's
like,
what keeps you hooked on to it.
Julia Rossi has a great joke of like when she sleeps with a guy, it literally like pokes her heart. She's like, bing, I love you. I'm like, but it is a chemical thing. Once you another friend of mine's therapist has said, like, once you mate with someone, I mean, there really is an animalistic thing that happens. Chemicals, like your brain then is attached to that person. So you then try to make it work. Or at least, I'm speaking from experience, but like once I have sex with somebody, I really am in it to like try to make it work. Or at least like nowadays.
Yeah.
Before I used to be like, oh, fuck it, I don't give a fuck. But I wish I could go back to that.
Well,
not during a pandemic.
Part of, oh God, the goddamn pandemic. That's part of, I think that's part of though, like, there's nothing wrong with having sex with a fuckboy.
No,
there's nothing wrong. It's just that you have to know what you're getting into because these are people that like, again, you're not going to go in there and try to change this guy. You shouldn't try. It's not worth your time. If they want to change and they come back around, we'll see. I don't know. It depends on the person. But I think that that's one thing too. Like when I was thinking about this topic, like what do I want to say to the women that are either currently stuck with some fuckboy or suspect they're with a fuckboy, or people that are drawn to these fuckboys? And I think that the bottom line is, it's like, if they're not being honest, they're going to gaslight you.
Right.
They're going, if you're like, hey, are you seeing another woman? They're going to be like, you're fucking crazy. Why are you? I mean, they're going to go that far. And if you're getting those vibes, just go. You're worth more than that shit. And we don't have to keep supporting this kind of behavior. You know what I mean? Like, I don't, and you don't want to, who wants to be played a fool anyway with these kinds of things? So I really encourage women, and because I'm going through my defuckboying journey on my end, and just really trying to be more protective of myself, protecting myself more, because I can fall for guys too, and I think part of fuckboys, they tend to be kind of exciting, and usually the sex is good. You're not a very good fuckboy if you can't fuck well. So that's definitely part of it.
Well, I listen to off and on, I listen to Girls Gotta Eat podcast with our friends, Raina and Ashley, or acquaintances. I wouldn't say we're besties. But
we did a show with them.
We did do their show.
Well, yes.
But they have a fuckboy episode, which I do highly recommend. It's really great and informative. But they have a fellow comedian, Mary Beth Barone, on there. And she actually has a show called Drag His Ass, a fuckboy treatment program.
Oh,
so she has guests on who are like known fuckboys and like interviews them, and then actually like goes through a steps with them of like reformation, and then I think baptizes them or something on stage. I don't know. Amazing. So they like so they learn. So she had on the podcast on Girls Gotta Eat, she talked through like 6 steps of like acknowledging fuckboys, and like so she talks about, first and foremost, when you're dating a fuckboy, like you have to acknowledge and admit that, like, if you're addicted to fuckboys, that's what it is. Like this is your 6-step program of how to for recovery. Good. So the first one is like acknowledging you have a problem, and that is very similar to like alcoholism or drug addiction. It's like, recognize you have a problem. So I do think I have a problem with fuckboys, because I also may have commitment intimacy issues, and so it's appealing to have a little bit of chase, and that's kind of fun and stuff.
And also then, like, maybe someone that's not reliable, because then I'm talking about myself, because then you also don't have to commit, like, you know what I mean? You can blame it on them.
If they're available fault, and and
you can say it's your fault that you don't want commitment, and then I don't have to face my own fear of commitment issues.
Right. Yes. Oh,
totally.
We're getting in there.
Yeah.
Demand better.
Yes.
Recalibrate your expectations. So, I mean, that's something that I've been really working on in therapy, is just like really understanding and almost like manifesting what I deserve,
right? What
I really want in a partner. And like, if they aren't checking off the checklist of what I deserve, then, hey, you know what is the opposite? Like, you can either dim your light and be with somebody who doesn't like make your life better, but like makes it less than, or you can learn to love yourself and have a fantastic fucking life by yourself alone until your person comes. That's how I'm like, I'm trying to date. It's fine, but like, I'm really working on myself, so I do attract the right person.
And also, like, I think, and that also makes me think back to, like, let's say you're in some sort of an interaction with a fuckboy, but you feel fine about it and you legitimately feel good about it. That's great. It's when you start to like feel
more.
bad about yourself.
Right.
And you start to like, and they make you feel bad about yourself. And like you said, like when you're in a room with this person, you feel less than, as opposed to feeling like your whole, full, beautiful self.
Right. I just remember my last conversation with this guy was just like, I want more. I should have actually said, I deserve more.
Sure.
I deserve more. And he was like, this is all I'm capable of giving. And I was like, then that's good. That's, you know that.
Yeah.
And here's something, maybe I wasn't honest with what I really wanted from you.
Right.
And so that's on me too, you know? So communication that makes the world go round.
Totally. And I really do appreciate though that person was honest. Because that's, and I think that's another thing too with, you know, if men are being like, well, what if I don't want a relationship? Like, does it mean that I can, my only option is to trick women into having sex with me? It's like, no, you can be honest.
Yes.
And then there's going to be some women that are like, that's great. That's what I'm into today too. And there's going to be some women that are like, that's not what I want. So you have to be able to go, okay, yeah, I'm not going to have sex with this woman.
Right.
As opposed to tricking them. You know?
Right. Lead with honesty. That's great. Third step is you're going to relapse. You're going to relapse. And then fourth is you're going to come back stronger. You're going to go, oh, whoops, I did that again. You know, and I was done with fuckboys and then I dated a fuckboy again. And then now I'm back strong. I'm stronger than ever before. What's the song? I don't know. Brittany.
She's free-ish.
She is free-ish.
Hashtag free-ish. Getting there.
You know what? I like her shots of her holding her boobs in the woods.
Yeah.
Look at her beautiful breasts.
Yeah.
Fourth one is to feel gratitude. No, wait, that's the fifth one. Fifth one is to feel gratitude. So like be thankful for the past fuck boys because you've learned and now you're on to bigger and better. So you have to be grateful for them.
Yeah. And if they haven't totally torn you down and destroyed you, which hopefully they haven't, or if they have, you've rebuilt yourself. But that's the thing is it's like if it teaches you to be stronger, then it was worth it. Sort of. But also we don't have to go through that if we don't. It shouldn't have to do with it.
The last one was seek revenge.
Love it. Love it.
Which I think the best kind of revenge is to like really love yourself and then find that partner that is so amazing and you be amazing together. And then maybe you're out and about being amazing and hot and sexy together. And then you see that fuck boy and you're like, you see what you're missing out on, motherfucker.
I think the best revenge is when they text, because they always come back and text.
Oh, they always
like,
come back, yes.
And then you're like, I'm sorry, who is this? I don't remember. Jim?
Well, remember
Jim
Avi, that fuck boy I went on 7 dates with this guy. Katie came on the second date.
Yes, I was there.
Very strange. But I take Katie on lots of dates.
I've been on lots of your dates.
It's very strange.
You
commitment,
asked me.
intimate. Yeah, I
don't burst in there.
The way that I know, but the thing is, if the guy doesn't love you, then he's not gonna love me because it's kind of a two-way street here. So you gotta, it's 2-for-1 special with this.
Well, not quite, but
but with him, remember we went on 7 dates. So many red flags that I chose to ignore because I thought he was so hot and the sex was wild. On the third date, I remember I was at his house. As I got up from his bed, he handed me a hair rubber band. And he was like, oh, don't forget this. And I was like, oh, okay, thanks. He hands me the hair rubber band. I look down at my wrist and I have my hair rubber band. But I didn't say anything. I was just like, oh, okay. I guess he's sleeping with other people. Cool. I mean, that's fine, I guess. Third date, fourth date, whatever. 7 dates. Then he ghosts me, which is fine. I mean, I'll say it. I was pretty bummed out. Sure. I thought that he was a fun hang. But then he texted a year later, hey, Marie, thinking about you, like, have you been? And I didn't respond, but I remember, Katie, you really wanted me to respond. But if I had responded, I would have said, you think I hate myself that much that I'd go back to you?
Yeah, I'm a very confrontational person, so I like to do that. But it's okay to not respond. That's fine too.
Yeah, I just didn't respond. But it's amazing that these fuckboys, like, they do return. They want that good puss.
Yeah, I mean, and that's like, but it makes sense because that's what they were there for the whole time anyway. And also, even just like a message being like, hey, I've been thinking about you. That's manipulative because like that makes a woman feel like, wow, like I'm special. And that's the thing where it's like, is it even, I think even we all want to feel special. But the truth is like, they don't think you're special.
Oh.
They don't give if they thought they were special, then they would be respectful.
Right.
You know? And I think that's like that's the sad, it's sort of like the number one in that list of 6 things or whatever. It's like you have to really acknowledge that like not only do you have a problem being addicted to fuckboys, but that like what fuckboys are manipulating from you isn't real. Like what they're saying, they're not to be trusted. That's not, it's not real.
Yeah.
And that's heartbreaking. And that's what's so, I think, just so mean and detrimental. And again, we're making jokes and it's funny and stuff, but at the end of the day, it's actually like extremely hurtful behavior. It's extremely,
it is.
And it's also extremely detrimental to women's psyches because, and their own self-worth, because you're kind of slowly, really like teaching women that they aren't worth much and that they should just sort of like bend to your every beck and call, and that they're only worth that much to you or to anybody. And I think that we have sort of an epidemic of women that are so willing to do, and especially young women, right? Because a lot of my stuff came, some of the more dramatic ones, and to some extent, were from when I was younger. You know, when you really don't know how things go in the world. And I think that these young women right now are extremely susceptible to this stuff. Although some of them I feel like have some more awareness. And I think it's like women and men, we need to be protecting each other from like really vicious behavior. And you think it's not a big deal, and it is a big deal. It really fucks with someone's self-worth. And you kind of said that.
Yeah. And I hear over and over again when people are dating and maybe it's a little toxic, tumultuous, like something doesn't feel right. And I've been there too. This is why I'm talking about it. But if you're afraid to confront your partner or the person that you're sleeping with about anything, any truth, anything that you're really feeling inside, if you're afraid of what their answer is going to be, then that they're not the right person.
I mean, that's certainly a red flag, right?
Yeah.
If you can't talk,
how can you if you really can't speak to somebody about what you're really feeling? I mean, you know, and before this fuckboy, I was with maybe even another fuckboy for like years, and with him, I couldn't even. We never had a real in-depth conversation about our relationship because I was terrified for his response, because I knew full-heartedly that it wasn't going anywhere. And I didn't want to know. I didn't want to hear it. It was actually the perfect non-committal relationship that was good at that time. But once I wanted more, I had to get out. But I think that it's a beautiful thing to really, really know yourself, really love yourself, and know your self-worth, and then really seek out the partner that sees that in you as well, so you can rise up together and not be like brought down. I don't know. Yeah.
And that's what beauty is. I mean, every human being on this earth, if they want to be partnered up, deserves a partner that is at minimum respectful.
Right.
At minimum willing to have a conversation about things that pop up in a respectful manner, not in a screaming, dirty fight. You know what I mean? Minimum, you deserve someone who's not gaslighting you and who actually hears your concerns, and at minimum you need to be doing that to your partners as well, for your partner as well. And I think that I agree that I think that we're also born and raised to believe that like a woman of a certain age that's single is like a old hag or something, and nothing could be worse than being a single woman for the rest of your life. And that's a narrative that has been pushed on us. It goes along with the witches narrative and all that stuff. But what we should be teaching people is that like you don't need to be treated badly just so that you can be partnered off. You know what I mean? Nobody needs to have that. And I think that that's where we need to start moving and teaching our daughters and stuff. It's like you don't need it. You don't need it. Right. And you should be in relationships because where there's a lot of mutual respect. That's like the number one thing. And that's the number one thing you don't have in a fuckboy relationship is respect.
Right.
That's the number one thing.
Yeah. And also with fuckboys, I've like they like to make you jealous. And I think that comes from insecurity, but they'll say things that make you just like makes you feel crazy. So, I mean, just any of those little things that you hear. And this is what my therapist would say is like, write them down.
Right.
Write them down. So it doesn't make you feel crazy. It really did happen. So then also when you're ready to have that conversation, a real conversation, you have actually like proof. Because they will say, no, I didn't do that, or you're crazy,
But also, like, how much of a conversation do you want? If they're starting to say, no, I didn't do that, no, that didn't happen. Like, for me at this point in my life, I'm like, okay, bye.
Right.
Like, I'm not going to, I have too many people and elements in my life as a woman on this planet, in work type situations. My work is wonderful, but in, certain work situations or just even walking down the street, too many times where people are telling me that my experience is inaccurate or invalid. I don't need it from the person that I'm supposed to be like sharing my life with.
Yeah.
So like you get one strike on that for me at this point in my life. Once there's a like, no, that definitely didn't happen, and I'm being reasonable about it, then I'm like, I don't know what we're doing here.
Right.
Yeah. Like I'm over that shit.
Wish I knew all this stuff in my 20s.
Me too. I mean, I wish I knew it,
I just had so many men gaslight me, make me feel crazy. I mean, my big boyfriend, my huge boyfriend. No, he was
big boyfriend.
My big boyfriend. No,
Paul Bunyan.
No, my longer lasting relationship in my 20s. Like I walked in on him holding this girl's hand at a bar. We were supposed to be exchanging Christmas presents that night. Like I had this whole night plan, this very romantic plan of like cooking dinner, and we were going to exchange Christmas gifts because I was leaving the next day for Christmas to go home for the holidays. And instead he quickly, like he says that he got drunk at their holiday work party and to come to Midtown. Yeah, I like went to Midtown in Times Square to see this guy. I walk in and he's holding hands with this girl, and I just stand there and I just watch. Because I'm like, am I crazy? Am I hallucinating? But no, like they're flirting. He's holding her hand. They're looking in each other's eyes. And then as soon as he sees me, he drops her hand and I, at that moment, I was just like, I'm out. I don't know what is going on, but something definitely is going on. I didn't just hallucinate that. And then of course he like runs after me and is like, I wasn't holding her hand. I did it, all this sort of stuff. And it's like, it's amazing. And I don't know if he necessarily was a fuckboy or just a fucking idiot, but you just really, really have to trust your instincts.
Yeah. Yeah. That reminds
Double down on that.
Yeah. No, I think that trusting your gut is a really important factor in all this too. It reminds me of one of my first, one of my real first loves that I was with for, at the time, felt like a long time, like 2 years or something. And I went away. I would stay at his place most nights. And we had worked at the same place. And he was a manager at this place. And I went away for the weekend to see my dad, and he was texting me while I was gone. He was like, I miss you. I can't wait for you to come back, whatever. I was like, this is great. And I'd always trusted him. I didn't really not trust him. But there had been a girl that had been working at the restaurant, and he would complain about her a lot. And I was like, it's weird that he talks about this girl so much. But he'd say how stupid she was and how much he didn't like her and how he just wanted to get her fired or whatever. And I was like, okay. I come back from my dad's trip, and he was at work, and I was like, I'll just stop by your place. He's like, that's great. I can't wait to see you, whatever. And I logged in to a social media account, or I was going to go log in. He didn't have an account. So I went into it, and there was a username that was just in there already. And it was something like pussy 9669 or something. And I was like, what's this? And my first instinct was to just delete it and then put mine in. And then I was like, wait a minute, but it's strange that this person's thing is in here. And it auto generated the passcode.
Oh my God.
Password. So I was like, wow, do I do this? Do I not do this? And I was like, let me just see who it is. I click on it, and it's the girl from work that he's been complaining about. And so clearly she's been to the house. Clearly. Because she's logged into his computer. This girl that he says he despises. So I called him at work and I was like, hi. And he's like, hey, what's up? Are you back? Oh my God, can't wait to see you, man. And I was like, yeah, I'm back. It's going to be great to see you. Quick question. Did you have like a party while I was gone? He was like, nope. I was like, okay. Did it just like some people come over? Like, did you have some people come over? Anybody? And he's like, no, like, nobody came over. Totally like, let me think. No, nobody. Not even just like a group. Just not even one person came over the whole time I was gone. No, nobody came over. And I said, well, that's a lie. And he got quiet and he was like, I'm coming over right now. I'm coming over. I'm going to leave work early. I'm coming. Don't go anywhere. I'm sorry. And I was like, motherfucker. And he was such a good liar. Like that was the problem. So we stayed together a little bit longer after that. But like, the worst part was I couldn't trust him anymore.
Yeah.
And he had slept with this girl and I caught him. And he was fully like, didn't want to admit anything until I caught him. And he's crying. And I was like, I don't. And ultimately, of course, I was like, I just can't trust you. And then that makes you feel crazy, right?
Right.
Because you're like, well, who are you texting right now? And they're like, well, you don't need to know all of my business. I'm like, but it seems like I do. Because like, So anyway, it's like that kind of shit. Like, it really like fucks you up.
Well, on Girls Gotta Eat podcast, they were like, you can't trust anyone. And I'm like,
well, and that's how you start to feel. I know.
Yeah, that sucks.
And I don't want that to be true. And I don't even think that is necessarily true. But that's how it feels.
Yeah.
You know, it's really, really hard. And that's why you do have to, I want people to remain open and have their hearts be open and all that. But also you have to protect that heart too. There's got to be a balance of like, and that's where like, look, I'm all for like having sex on the first date, but don't do it if you think you might like the person. That would be my advice. If you think there's even a shot you might like them, give them a test. See if they're really like gonna be in on, because I've had a couple dates now where I really was hitting it off with a guy and they started to pressure me to have sex and I said, well, not this night, but like let's hang out again. They're like, yeah, let's hang out. And then I don't hear from them again. And I'm like, thank God I didn't sleep with them, because I already was sort of starting to like be like, oh, I might like this person. So it's like that, like just something like that just seems like obvious, but like,
yeah, they just poke your heart.
They just dick poke you right in the old bazoom. I don't know what that means.
Is that what titty fucking is?
That's a t-shirt. That's
that's our new merch.
Dick poking in the bazongas. That's true love.
I mean, the moral of the story is truly really, really work on yourself, love yourself. Then you're able to like attract the right person and communicate with them.
And then
what your hopes and needs are.
Don't put up with any shit.
Right.
Don't put up with an ounce of shit, because people will treat you the way you let them treat you, period. And I know I've heard that a million times, and it's now I'm finally really understanding that. People will treat you the way that you let them treat you, and they will tell you who they are. You have to listen.
You accept the type of love you think you deserve.
Totally.
So love yourself, and then you will accept that kind of love.
You'll accept the good love, and you'll reject the bad love.
Yes. Like a pasta strainer.
Like a pasta catapult. Just like, get away from me. Just shoot that bad, dirty pasta away.
Goodbye. Yeah.
Also on a shirt. Very clear metaphors here.
Oh my gosh.
Well,
if you think you're a fuck boy, or if you know a fuck boy, or if you need us to intervene with you,
I will fully call someone for you. I love calling people and yelling at them. So
email us at difficultwomenpodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. Let us know how we can help. Maybe you need help weaning yourself off from fuck boys. Like, been there, done that. And I just wanted to say, like, my time being a fuck girl, I think, was because I was so hurt by somebody else. I was just trying to like fill the hole in my heart with other dicks. Yeah. And so I feel like that's probably what's happening a lot with fuck boys too. Like, really, like, they've gotten their heart broken and now they've just like shut off.
Sure. But I don't feel bad for them. They need to get help.
No, they gotta get to therapy.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh my God, I love it. On dates now, when a guy's like, yeah, I'm in therapy, I'm like, oh, I mean,
beautiful.
Praise Jesus.
Yeah, love it.
I love a man in therapy.
Me too.
All right. Well, this was fun. Watch F-Boy Island. Let us know what you think.
Oh my God, Nikki Glaser is a genius. I love her. All right. Well, we love you guys. We're back. We're happy to be back. And stay in touch.
TTYL.
TTFN.
What is that?
Fuck my life. Now. No.
Oh, like FML.
BRB.
XOX. Okay, bye.